And we're live. Granted, I don't know where Jordan is. Anyway, welcome back, Sainers. Hope you've had a great weekend and hope you've had a relaxing weekend. There you are, Jordan.
Hello. Sorry about that. Saints fans, welcome back to another week of Saints TV Live. I hope you're all well. Max, I hope you're well. And before we get into it, I've got to say, Max, that I believe the season is over. I think with our seven-point loss to Port, I've got to say, season's done. We're not going to win any more games for the rest of the year. We are absolutely finished. The players are all awful. Ross Lyon should be sacked. It's done. We're not going to win another game for the rest of the year. We are finished. And I'm not sure if you picked up on that, viewers, but I'm clearly being sarcastic. I think a couple of us probably got a bit carried away with the performance on Friday night, which in my opinion and Max's opinion wasn't too bad. I did see one comment at quarter time asking St Kilda if Ross Lyon should be asking Saints fans if they thought Ross Lyon should be sacked, which I thought was very questionable. Firing a guy who's turned our club around 7 games into a year, but nonetheless, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Max, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Sorry, I don't know if you heard me before or what was going on. My computer was on mute, so I didn't realise you were here or not. No, I'm good. Unfortunately, we lost on Friday night, but very happy with how we in the manner sort of that we lost by. Only going down 7 points to a team that's in the top 8. Look, that's not anything to be worried about, I don't think, and we'll unpack that game later on today, or later on tonight, I should say. So doing all right. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Busy weekend, as usual. Disappointing weekend, obviously, with the loss on Friday night. But, you lost to Port Adelaide, a team that I had before the season started, not to toot my own horn, finishing in the top 4 by 7 points, and Collingwood probably playing the best footy in the competition to lose to them by only 6 points. I think that, people are over-exaggerating our issues. But, yeah, good weekend. But also excited to get stuck into some Saints footy.
Absolutely right. Just first of all, for those who haven't seen, last week we did interview Grant Thomas. After you're done with this live stream, go check that out. Really interesting insights he had to say, and he delved a lot about into coaching schemes and stuff to be between coaches and players that we otherwise wouldn't see from just a fan's perspective. So really recommend going to check that out after tonight. And then also, we just want to quickly shout out Saints TV merch. Jordan, I don't know why you're not wearing your hoodie tonight, but Jake has sent us through some Saints TV stuff to wear for the live stream. So I don't say this lightly. It is quite nice quality hoodies. So yeah, go get yourself some Saints merch.
They are very good quality hoodies. The company that Jake's partnered with to organise this is fantastic. They do a terrific job. I'm not wearing my hoodie because it's a bit hot in my room at the moment, but otherwise I would certainly be wearing it. I was wearing it yesterday when it arrived, and I would been wearing it most of today as well. It's just a bit hot at the moment. So, yeah, make sure to check out Saints TV merch. And also, Jake's doing a giveaway on the Saints TV Instagram, I believe, with the Medallion Club. So 2 people. If you enter, I'm not 100% sure of the terms and conditions involved. I think you have to tag one of your mates in Jake's recent Instagram post on the Saints TV pod account. But yeah, you should be able to enter, tag one of your friends or 2 of your friends, and be in the running to win a chance at, sitting in the Medallion Club. I think that's something that, most fans would want to hang on to. Isn't that right, Max? Sitting in the Medallion Club.
Yep, exactly right. I'm just pulled the Instagram post up in front of me. To enter the giveaway, you just have to be following Saints TV on Instagram, and then tag your mate in the comment section below. 1 tag equals 1 entry. Giveaway closes this Friday, 5th of May at 7 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. So tag as many of your Saints as you'd like, but if you tag too many of them and you win the prize, then you're going to have to pick between a couple mates that might be a bit grumpy that you're not inviting them to the Saints game on Sunday night.
Yep, so be careful with who you tag, Saners. Don't invite anyone that, might be a sore loser that then you're not bringing them along.
Exactly right. Jordan, let's get into the port review. Who's impressed you the most coming out of that Friday night contest?
I'd say one guy that impressed me the most, Max, would be Rowan Marshall. In terms of the ruck, I think he had something like 27 hit-outs. I'm not too sure of the stats. Most of those probably, excuse me, weren't to our advantage, I'd say. But other than, obviously he's a ruckman, that's part of his job. But he was everywhere on the ground. He had 10 tackles, I know that much, thanks to the live potty on Sunday night. Make sure to check that out after this. But yeah, 10 tackles, seemed to be marking everything, swallowing everything in his way. Effective with his disposals, was just an all-round great performance from Rowan, and something that, definitely puts him in All-Australian stead. Who impressed you on Friday night, Max?
Just go on to that. 28 hit-outs, 10 tackles, 26 disposals, 6 marks. Yeah, didn't put a foot out of line, and also had 332 metres gained as a ruckman. That's the sort of performance we like seeing from Rowan Marshall. I know,
and just some normal guys noted how he got 159 fantasy points and probably some more for Supercoach. Yep, totally right. I had him as my VC and my vice captain this week. Max, did you have him as your vice captain or captain?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Oh, mate, you've missed out. That was a beautiful performance from Rowan on AFL Fantasy, but also in terms of, his performance out in the field. Really good all-round performance from Big Bro.
Yeah, so moving on from Rowe, all Australian type performance, and had we have got the chocolates, it would have been probably a 3 votes performance. My player, though, that really impressed me was Hunter Clark. 23 touches. What I love to see, though, is that he had 15 kicks. He's not a handball player. I hate guys that handball more than they kick. One of those being Paddy Cripps, but, we're not going to get onto him. Going back to Hunter Clark, 23 touches, 15 kicks, a couple tackles, 4 clearances, and a goal on top of that. He is a dynamic midfielder.
Yeah, Hunter Clark was super impressive. Let us know, Saners, who you thought was your player that stood out to you the most. Was it Rowe that got Sainer of the round? I think so.
Yeah, Rowe was the Sainer of the round.
Yep, well deserved from Rowan. But yeah, Saners, let us know who you thought was a fantastic player on Friday night. But speaking of Friday night, we did unfortunately have some unfavourable behaviours from fans. I think we all know what I'm referencing here. The Jason Horne-Francis stuff. Saners, I'd like to think that we're all humans, not sheep. I'm not sure why we're following in the footsteps of other clubs and deciding to boo a 19-year-old who made the decision to go home. It's to do with North Melbourne and Port Adelaide. It's nothing to do with us. He's got he's not a stake. Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a stakeholder, not involved with St Kilda at all. So I'm not sure. He's done nothing to us. I'm not sure why we're booing him. And if anything, it made him play better. Completely torched us. Him and Finlayson, probably the best players for Port Adelaide, and probably the best players overall on the night. To be honest, so just the Jason Horne-Francis booing, it's just ridiculous. I was embarrassed. Unfortunately, not for the first time as a Saints fan to be embarrassed at our fans' behaviour after what happened with Jamari Ugle-Hagan earlier in the season. But yeah, just really embarrassing and frankly, just knock it off. Like, it was just unacceptable. I sound like some principal saying that.
Sorry, Jordan. Agree. It's got nothing to do with us. The commentators kept mentioning it on the broadcast. As you said, it's got nothing to do with us. And whilst, everyone might have their 2 cents in, Jordan and I especially, very similar age to us, Jason Horne-Francis. So I couldn't imagine being booed by pretty much half the nation just playing a sport that you all love, especially when he's gone home for family reasons. He's obviously, good on him. He's got out of the Kangaroos situation, which looks pretty dire at the moment, which we will get into later on in tonight's episode. But yeah, just knock it off with the Jason Horne-Francis booing. It's got nothing to do with us, as Jordan said.
All right, so moving on to maybe some game analysis. What do you reckon Port did differently to us to get the wood over us on Friday night?
They moved the ball insanely quickly out of their back 50, and especially their inside forward 50 entries. It was noted all week that Carlton never hit that first target. They always tried to wait, and by the time they waited, all our midfielders and wingers and half forwards they floated back to flood the back our defensive 50. Sorry, what Paul were able to do, they were just able to hit their targets first try. It was immediate kicking. They were very aggressive coming out of the kick-ins, and it really only took them 2 or 3 kicks to get the ball inside their 50. That was big shout out as well. Well, maybe not shout out, but Charlie Dixon was tremendous in that. He either brought the ball to ground for Rioli or marked the ball himself. So yeah, he was probably their big difference maker on Friday night.
Yep. And Jeremy Finlayson as well, terrific game that he played. Him, Charlie Dixon and Jason Horne-Francis, probably the best players for Port Adelaide there. In terms of their accuracy with their kicking, they definitely played to the spare man amongst the zone. That was something they were really able to counter us with. Obviously, our zone's been a strength of ours. A key feature of Ross Lyon's game, not just this season, but throughout all this time at St Kilda and also at Fremantle. But yeah, I think Ken Hinckley's men were really able to break us down in finding the loose man amongst the zone.
Yeah, 100% agree. I also think what's his name, Sam Powell-Pepper. I really don't like him as an opposing fan. I'm sure Port Adelaide fans absolutely love him, but geez, he was also a difference maker. The way he stood up in the tackle against Josh Battle, kicked a goal in the 4th quarter. I think Joycey mentioned it on the podcast on Sunday night. He's a bulldog. He's fit for playing NRL, but he has the speed and pace and agility and all that of an AFL player. So I can't stand watching him as a opposing fan. But yeah, he was also tremendous for Port Adelaide.
Yep. Just some normal guys written in saying we couldn't stick a tackle, and it seems that Sam Powell-Pepper was lathered up in grease. I think that's a good way to put it. Just some normal guy. It seemed like he had a force field around him. We couldn't touch him at all. Well, even if we did, we had no answers to bring him to ground. In saying that, Max, what do you reckon we need to improve on what do we need to improve on for Sunday's game?
Yeah, so I think our one-on-one contests, they're lacking, as shown on Friday night. Port Adelaide never really zoned us. They pretty much played one-on-one defence the entire game, backed themselves in to win marking contests, and they knew they were a bit bigger than us. So maybe that's by the likes of we getting King in. I think Caminiti's a massive out as well. His ability to run and jump at the ball, and even if he doesn't mark it, he's at least always creating something from the contest that he gets to. So I think he's been a real valuable asset, Caminiti. But against Kangaroos, well, you obviously won't have King. Well, probably won't have King. Definitely won't have Caminiti. We're going to need to be a little bit more creative with our kicking to the advantage of our teammates and not sitting the ball on top of each other's heads, because that's not going to work, especially when you've got the likes of what's their names, Ben Mackay and Griffin Logue, Luke McDonald down back. They're some bigger units. So yeah, they're going to eat us alive if we kicking inside 50. I mean, if we just sit the ball on top of heads and not lead at the footy.
Yeah, and just on that, the use of effective disposals. I thought our contested ball probably needs to improve a bit. Not just contested, but also when we get that contested ball, being able to make the right play with it. There's been a couple of comments that I've noticed. Nathan's noted how Rowan probably, I alluded to it earlier, but probably needs to take it out of the square himself and hit it to his opponents more. Sorry, not to his opponents. That's not what we want. Hit it to his teammates more. And I think there's another comment as well from just some normal guy. I'm not sure I agree with Steele playing in for the Zebras, but it clearly wasn't his best game. Still recovering from that collarbone injury. but for 26 disposals, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but wasn't great at disposal efficiency and certainly didn't meet the eye test Steely. So winning that contested ball, I thought Seb Ross did it quite well in the first half. Another quiet game from Brad Crouch. Didn't see much of him. He's usually one of our contested ball pigs, so really need guys like them to step up. Crouchy to win the contested ball, and guys like Steele and Marshall to get it to our advantage. That'll put us in a good position for next week.
Yep, sorry, just Jordan, just on that, I've pulled up the disposal efficiency. Jack Steele went at 75% disposal efficiency, which doesn't sound horrible, but great. I'm not sure how they calculate disposal efficiency. Did get 15 contested possessions and 15 uncontested. So, yeah, Crouch and Steele, 16 and 15 contested possessions respectively. And then, surprisingly, Mitch Owens, Rowan Marshall equal third at 13. So, if we're only got two midfielders in there, Mitchell Owens, who was playing forward and pinch hitting in the ruck, Rowan Marshall in the ruck, means our other midfielders need to step up and get that contested ball.
Yeah, I think there was a comment earlier. John has noted maybe try Owens in the midfield. It was spoken about on Sunday night with the boys in the podcast, but I reckon having him as a pinch hitter, being able to use his pace in the midfield, I reckon that's a good idea. And certainly you seem to think so as well. Wayne's asking what our thoughts are switching Jack Sinclair with Steele. I do like having Sinclair in the guts, but Steele off halfback, not too sure if that's the best spot for him. When he's fully healthy, having recovered from that collarbone, I'd say his biggest asset is definitely that contested ball. So having him in the midfield is crucial for us. What are your thoughts on that, Max?
Yeah, I think I said it last week and maybe even the week before when Steele comes back into the side. I'd like him playing more of a half forward role if he's not up to 100%, which as of the last 2 weeks he hasn't been 100%. Maybe it's a little bit easier coming up against the Kangaroos, but still they've got a decent midfield. They've got a couple of balls that we'll touch on later. If Steele's on in the midfield, I'd like to see him in the forward line because he does have a beautiful set shot, and if he can't win that contested ball, if he can't tackle as much as he probably usually does, we're going to need him to kick goals. So then at least he's got some versatility out on the field. Whereas I don't think putting him to halfback with the likes of Stocker, Patton, Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira and Jack Sinclair when he's not in the guts, that's probably not the best use of our resources.
Yeah, and he's not just a beautiful set shot as well, but around the body, I think from free-flowing play, he's pretty good, that guy, that Steely. Just some normal guy. I don't agree with this, to put it very nicely. Max Heath is not a great runner, and he's also not very strong in the ruck. He would get absolutely bodied by Todd Goldstein on the weekend if we put him in. Max, what are your thoughts on Maxi? Well,
yeah, look, I think he's still a little bit away. He's I don't know. He's right now been dominating full forward and then secondary ruck. I believe he's been playing at Sandy. Don't quote me on that, but I believe Tom Campbell, when he does play at Sandy, he's the main ruck. Look, I think Max Heath, he looks like a good prospect. Hopefully in the future, maybe towards the end of this year or even definitely next year, he debuts. But there's definitely no reason to put him in just yet. I think Michito Owens pinch hitting in the ruck's doing well right now. Rowan Marshall's has lifted the last 2 weeks, and then when we get the likes of Jack Hayes back into that forward line, he'll play that secondary ruck role, and he seemed to do it well in the 5 games he played last year before, unfortunately, tearing his ACL. Because I think everyone forgets that we still have Jack Hayes, who looks like a legitimate talent that we've picked out of the Sandfall. So, yeah, I think Max Heath, just give him time. The rucks take a lot more time to develop as opposed to midfielders and forwards and things like that. So hopefully he debuts this year, later on in the year, but if it's not this year, it's definitely next year.
Yep. Okay, so we'll move on a bit from the Saints. For those who have been living under a rock, Andrew Dillon's been appointed as the CEO of the AFL. I'm sure he's a great bloke. I'm not too sure about whether he should have been the preferred option over some of the other candidates. It seems they're continuing with this boys' club mentality. I thought Kylie Watson-Wheeler also would have been a good choice, but yeah, I can't say I know too much about Andrew Dillon. But Max, what do you think of this appointment?
No, I saw him on what was it, AFL 360 or whatever the show is with Robbo and I forget who the other guy is. Sorry, no disrespect, I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. But
Jared Wheatley.
thank you. Yeah, with Wheatley and Robbo, and he seemed to answer the questions that were thrown at him quite confidently and quite quickly. He was pretty bang on about things like the AFL Grand Final being at 2:30, and then whether the roof should have a closed or open, if there should or shouldn't be an open roof at the new Tassie Stadium. Look, I think he seems pretty confident, but it's also pretty easy when you haven't actually taken over the reins as of yet. I believe he takes over at the end of the year when Gillon McLachlan steps down after the grand final in September.
Yep, it seems like Gillon McLachlan was never going to leave, but it looks like he has finally. We've got a comment from Beth about Jack Hayes' rehab. He has unfortunately injured his hamstring. So I believe it's after the bye. I think it's 9 to 10 weeks that we're looking at. I'm not too sure exactly, but at least after the bye. Max, do you have any injury news on Jack Hayes or any other players?
No, I wish I had the scoop on this, but no, I believe it's just, re-injured his hamstring. I believe before he'd done the hamstring, he was expected to come back pre-bye round, so roughly when King was expected, so around round 9 or 10, but obviously hamstrings set him back a couple more weeks, maybe looking at round 15 or so, but yeah, and it's anyone's guess as of right now.
Yeah, but it appears we could be getting a big name back soon. Max King, have you heard anything on Big Kingy?
Yeah, so I believe Jake's posted this on the Saints TV Instagram account. Max King is expected to be back for round 9 against the Adelaide Crows. Probably the right decision to rest him this week. Just give him an extra week of running at training. Make sure he's 100% good to go, because the second he enters the team, we don't want him leaving the side for whatever reason it could be. We want him 100% fit, not 80% and work into it, a bit like Steele's done these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've noticed Dean has left a comment saying he wants him to play against North. I'm not too sure about that one, Dino. Like Max said, we don't want him returning at 80% because he'll definitely be in the thick of it. I don't think it's a secret that we'll be looking for him, even though we'll be as unpredictable as we've been. He'll certainly be our target up forward. And I'm just worried, shoulder injuries are those that tend to be those that you take a while to recover from, and you're never fully quite healthy. So if we wait as long as possible, I think the Adelaide game was a good compromise. North Melbourne, we'll get into it. We should be fine without them. No disrespect to North and Alistair Clarkson, all those guys going on down there. But yeah, I think we should be able to handle them with relative ease and no need to rush Kingy back. So moving on, it looks like there's going to be a 19th team in the AFL, Max.
There absolutely does. Granted, I think with a 19th team, you need a 20th team to balance out the fixtures. So I think there was maybe a bid or been talks about maybe a third team in Perth, but sticking to the one we know about, 19th team in Tassie. What are your thoughts on it, Jordan?
I think it's good for grassroots footy. I think it's a great idea to have a new team, well overdue. The new stadium, a lot of people I've seen on Facebook have seemed to have put their 2 bobs worth and seem to, have an economics degree. I am certainly not one of those people. I know it's probably is going to cost more than $750 million. I know people have weighed in and said, that money could be spent on, affordable housing or, hospitals and stuff that Tasmania really needs. I'm sure that people are aware that there's more than $750 million that the Australian government has available, and that, funding a new stadium, which will bring in, tons of revenue, the TV rights, that sort of thing. Can host concerts, can host cricket as well, now that it doesn't have a roof. Well, test cricket, that is. It doesn't mean that the government can't, pour money into, making rent cheaper and hospitals and that sort of thing. So I do think it is great for the game. The stadium I'm not 100% sure on, but I don't profess to know everything. What I would like to see would be for the Tassie team to come. I think at 20 teams max, in my opinion, would probably dilute the talent pool a bit. We're already seeing, West Coast and North Melbourne. Granted, West Coast have been struggling with injuries, but teams like West Coast, North Melbourne, Hawthorn seem to be a fair tier below everyone else in the league at the moment. So adding a 20th, a 19th, and a 20th team would dilute the talent pool, in my opinion. The best course of action, I reckon, would be to move GWS to Canberra, given they already play 4 games a year there already, and to fold the Gold Coast Suns. That's my controversial opinion.
Fold the Gold Coast Suns after all the money, time, and effort the AFL has spent putting into developing that program. Look, I don't mind the idea of putting a team in Canberra, but I think after the inclusion of GWS, and I think it was 2012, and then Gold Coast a couple of years before that, they won't be leaving the competition anytime soon. You wouldn't think. No, I definitely agree with you that there's already too much. What's the word I'm looking for?
Diluted talent pool. Yeah.
Diluted talent pool. Thank you. Across the AFL right now, and obviously the big teams retaining players. You just see Geelong apparently never need to get a first round draft pick because they just keep finding players from wherever it is. But in saying that, adding 19 teams to an 18-team fixture, unless they take away games, would be the only other option, where every team plays each other once. That would make a little bit more sense. Also, it takes out this whole nonsense about, we get to play North Melbourne twice, or a team gets to play West Coast twice, and then it really makes the fixtures uneven. So it'll be interesting to see what Dillon does when he takes over as AFL CEO. But no, I think it's only great for Tasmania. They are a footy-hungry state, and yeah, they absolutely deserve a team.
Yep, Jamie. I believe the Gold Coast. Oh, sorry, not Gold Coast. Tasmania won't be entering the league until 2027, so unfortunately, they won't get the opportunity to draft Harley Reid. Do you reckon Tassie will be your second team if they're they will be in the league? Do you reckon Tassie will become your second team, Max?
Yeah, probably. They honestly will be. I like the idea of Tassie. I like the idea of having a team down there. And it really makes it a national sport. We're not just leaving out people that are otherwise footy deprived. So yeah, I think it'd be a great opportunity to I don't know, expand AFL and get people into footy that otherwise probably wouldn't be getting into it because there's not a team local to them.
Yep, Dino. It could increase the talent pool. That is a good point, and I think it will improve grassroots footy. But the problem is to have 19 teams. I reckon the best course of action would be to have 18 teams stick with that, and have one of those being Tasmania. That would be the best course of action. That would minimise the gap between the best and the worst teams in the league, while also ensuring that we will also have good AFL players coming through the ranks.
Jordan, I think sorry.
I was just going to comment on the next team being the NT Deadlies.
Go.
Clearly interesting situation going on in Alice Springs in the Northern Territory. I hope all is resolved over there. But yeah, I think Max is probably right in saying that Perth is the most likely candidate for a 20th team rather than the NT, which some people have suggested.
Yeah, I think also it's unfortunate because we've seen playing games in Cairns and Darwin and up north in Townsville and wherever it's too wet. The conditions aren't right for footy during the winter months for us, but up in Northern Territory and North Queensland, it's wet season. So yeah, it's hard to get a balancing act to put a team up in Northern Territory. They absolutely probably deserve one, but yeah, it'd be hard to fit them into the season, especially with the weather and the bold conditions that they've got going up there. I was just going to say before, Jordan, whilst it's not possible at all in Australia and probably for the AFL, it'd be really, really interesting to see if they did a relegation and promotion system for the AFL where the bottom teams that aren't performing maybe get relegated to a different league, and then I don't know how it all works. I believe there's I watched a video on YouTube about it, but yeah, it'd be really interesting to see if there was a relegation and promotion in AFL, very similar to what's going on in soccer.
Yeah, I think the A League's trying to implement that at the moment. I think it's
Mm.
2024 or 2025 or something that they're trying to do. I would say no heavily to that, Max, simply because I think St Kilda will be probably one of the first teams going down. Historically, we know that we haven't performed very well as a club on a given any given season. So I'm going to say no to that promotion relegation idea purely because I'm a St Kilda fan. Um, Shout out to the playlist guy who's donated $1 in the stream. Now, I know you guys don't think that, to the average person, that might not seem like a lot, but if he donates another $1 again, that means I can buy 2-minute noodles, and that's my dinner sorted for one night. We get 14 of those donos, then I have dinner sorted for the next week. So, thank you to you for donating. But yeah, you don't have to, if you do, you can donate if you so wish. But yeah, obviously, we don't expect anything. We're just doing this because we love the Saints and we love you guys as well. Moving on. Grant Thomas awarded life membership. How good is that?
Yeah, it's awesome. He kept that one pretty quiet when we interviewed him on Tuesday. As we mentioned before, go check that out, Saints, if you haven't already. Um, yeah, kept that one under wraps. I believe there was a couple others. I'm not sure of their names. Jordan, if you want to talk about this, I'll be able to find those for you.
Yeah, great of St Kilda to induct GT into it's the St Kilda life membership, isn't it?
Yes, it's a St Kilda Life member.
Yep. So obviously, I think he's one of our only coaches in history, alongside Alan Jeans and Ross Lyon, to have a winning percentages coach. Which is great. So I think it was probably got us as close as anyone apart from Ross Lyon again to a premiership. We had a 6-point loss to Port Adelaide in that prelim in 2004. Got to a couple of prelims. It just seems like a really good guy. Again, check out that chat we had with him last week. It was a pleasure to have him on. But yeah, great to see him get inducted into the St Kilda Hall of Fame and to St Kilda Life membership.
Yep, Jordan, just on that, I've got the other two names. So former player Coach Grant Thomas, as well as past club presidents Rod Butters and Greg Westaway, awarded life memberships to the St Kilda Football Club.
Yep. Congratulations to those people. I can't say I know who they are, but, I'm sure they know who they are. So, well done. Yeah. Nick Walsh, the head of performance and conditioning coach, to leave St Kilda effective immediately. That was the bombshell dropped on, was it, last night, was it? I think so, yeah. That was the bombshell dropped last night. Not sure whether that was, I assume, for family reasons. A couple of people have proposed that it was Ross Lyon sacked him. I don't think that was the case. Probably more to do with family reasons, and we hope that Nick's doing okay and is taking care of himself and his family.
Yep, I believe he was hired last off season under Brett Ratton's coaching era. We really what's the word? Build the man a statue, but that's not what I'm trying to think of. Really hyped him up and gave him a lot of credit last year when we were 8-3 because we looked the fittest team in the competition. It was interesting though that we weren't able to have that same level of fitness, whether it was the skill and all that was maybe down, but it also seemed that our fitness was down after coming out strong the first 11 games. We looked up, we're a fit team this year, and I can only imagine that's from Nick Walsh's immense work during the preseason. So it's a shame to see him go, and I know he was involved heavily at GWS prior to the Saints. So we wish Nick Walsh good luck with whatever his future endeavours are.
Yep, too right. We do have someone in the fan cams waiting. Co-creator of the Sharminator. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks.
Awesome. What's your question for us, mate?
Sorry, mate. You just want to turn your mic up a little bit, or get closer to your camera. He's giving us a little house tour. Sorry, mate, we can't quite hear you. Sorry, mate, go again. Yeah, we can hear you. What's your question?
I'll start bench drop. Jimmy Webster, Max King, Zach Jones, start bench drop. Well, that seems a little bit unfair because we're obviously going to start Max King, and I don't want to drop either of the other two.
Why don't you let us know in the comments, Saners, who you think? Yeah, it seems Max King is the obvious choice to start. Probably Jimmy Webster played better in 2022, I'd say, than Zachy Jones did, and has an okay start to the season. I thought he was pretty good before he went down with those injuries. But yeah, I'd say start Max, bench Jimmy, drop Zach Jones.
Lovely. Was that all you had, or was there a couple other players that you wanted to give that question a shot at? Oh, well, I think
I did not hear a word of that.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I think we're losing you a bit. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your question. Saners, let us know who you'd start bench or drop: Jimmy Webster, Max King, or Zach Jones. I don't think it's as clear cut as Max King goes into the starting 18. What do you think, Jordan?
In terms of those three, the start bench cut.
Yeah, I think Max King might be a little bit shaky for the starting role, but I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure if you're joking there or not, but
awesome joking.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, yeah, interesting question. Certainly, it's not easy for a young fella to hop on the podcast hop on the show like he did. So well done for him to asking his question. But yeah, I think Max King is probably an easy choice there. Maybe a tougher question. Players of a bit more similar skill level and similar position next time is probably the way to go.
Talk about a hard start bench drop. Let us know, Saners, what you do. Jake's obviously put this in the comment section, so very funny. So we'd like to see what you guys have to say.
Yep, Jake seems to be a bit of a jokester today. Yeah, I'd start myself. I'd bench you and probably drop Kane Corns, and anyone that doesn't drop Kane Corns, I think should probably depart from the stream.
I've seen a couple comments now, Jordan, just about Zach Jones. Now that we've mentioned him, Dino, the role change potentially for Zach Jones. I definitely think that's on the cards. He's been very hit or miss in the midfield for St Kilda. He's had some games like Hawthorn in 2021. I think even both years against Hawthorn in 2021 and 2022, he's lit it up, but also had some questionable games in the midfield. And yeah, as you just mentioned, he was playing halfback at Sydney as he couldn't get a game in that midfield with Luke Parker, Dan Hanbury, Isaac Heaney, I think, floated through that midfield. That was a very stacked midfield through those years that they went to the grand final. Jordan, what do you think about a role change for Zach Jones? You there, Jordan? Oh, Jordan's gone. He didn't like that question, Dino. Sorry. Look, I definitely like the idea of Zach Jones coming off of halfback. Provides a little bit of extra pace. Whilst his kicking might not be at the elite level, it offers some flexibility for Sinclair to go into the guts a bit more confidently. Nasai, Wanganeen, Malira, and Zach Jones running the halfbacks. Oh, there he is. You back, Jordan? No, Jordan's cracked it at everyone. Sorry, Saners. Anyway, going back to it, I definitely like Zach Jones as maybe a different role when he comes back. Moving on. There you are.
I'm back. Sorry, I've been having some internet troubles. Am I all good now?
All good. Yeah, you left me high and dry there. That's all right. Dino, hopefully that answers your question. I do like Zach Jones to maybe play off halfback when he does return to the side. All right, Jordan. Do we want to get into a bit of a preview now? Sorry, there is one thing we've forgotten. There is the AFLW season has been confirmed, starting in the first week of September. 150th year for not only the St Kilda Football Club I guess the men's side, but as well as the women's side. So definitely get on board and support the girls later on in the year. I believe their preseason starts May 29th, if I was correct in reading there it is there in the Saints website. So get on board for that, Saints. Should be a terrific year. I know Sarah should be back on Saints TV doing her videos for the AFLW, and then Marshy later on in the year should be doing his AFLW podcast. So get excited for that, Saints.
Yep, just to reiterate what Max has said, May 29th, preseason kicks off, and then the official season starts first week of September. That's enough about general AFL chat. We probably spoke a bit too much about, Andrew Dillon and the Tassie AFL team. Let's talk about the Kangaroos.
Let's talk
and specifically our matchup with them. Potential ins and outs. Do you have some of those for us?
Yeah, I definitely do. Look, there might be a few that get managed. Granted, it's against North, so this might be a few of the young boys' last chance to sort of put an imprint on the side before they might get managed against Adelaide. I think Mateus Philippou been a little bit quiet the last couple of weeks. Granted, we've played some really, really tough opponents, Port, Carlton, and the Pies. So I think if he's not managed this week, he might be managed against Adelaide. But yeah, definitely a good opportunity for him to break out, get a bit of confidence, hopefully have a big rising star nom that I think he's probably been a bit stiff on the last few weeks, the first few weeks of the season. Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera might be a test. He got a massive knock during the game, so no updates on him yet, but he might be managed or injured. So hopefully he's able to get up and about against the Kangaroos, because I think we all remember last year that kick to King was, geez, you could kiss that kick, couldn't you, Jordan?
Yep, that was a beautiful kick.
Giving me absolutely nothing anyway. Maybe a big call, Jordan. What are your thoughts on Patton being omitted from the side?
Omitted entirely, I'm not too sure. I think he probably didn't have the best game on Friday night. I reckon Windy in for him, and if Ben Patton's not the sub, the only person I would put above Ben Patton at the moment would be Jack Bytel to come in as the sub. So Ben Patton, I'd be only okay with him being dropped if it was Jack Bytel that comes in as the medical sub.
Yeah. So look, I probably I've liked Patton and Webster, one of them being in the team. It's a shame that Webster's still out until round 9. I believe that is confirmed that he's going to come back in round 9. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what the club has stated. Him and King to return round 9 anyway. I haven't been a big fan of Patton's game the last 2 weeks. I think he's been a step slow. He's lost probably some crucial marking battles that he'd otherwise would have won. And he's probably let his opponents get the better of him the last 2 weeks, despite winning last week against the Blues. I think Tom Highmore might also be a sneaky shout to come into the side, maybe a taller halfback intercepting role.
Not sure about Tom Highmore. I didn't like his kicking when he came into the second half of the year at AFL level. Wasn't a big fan of his disposal efficiency, and I think that's something that Port killed us on Friday night. So Max, I'm going to have to disagree with you there about your potential inclusion of Tommy Highmore.
I think you're right on his. He's not the greatest kick in the world, but he's definitely a great intercept marker. Definitely a lot taller than Ben Patton, so he might be able to take, I don't know, a sort of a medium-sized forward when they move down. But Saints have been doing a lot of handball releases this year. So if you've got Sinclair, you've got Liam Stocker, who's shown that he's actually a better kick than probably we all expected him to be, and definitely Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera if he plays. Tom Highmore takes a mark and he's just got to handball it off, or he does the Dougal Howard and just the 10 to 20 metre darts to our teammates in the back 50, get the ball to Callum Wilkie or Josh Battle, who are a little bit better kicks. So, definitely interesting to see if they want to admit Ben Patton, because we would be a defender down that way if they bring in Tom Highmore, if they go the two mids and bring in Bytel or Windhager.
It's interesting that you've mentioned managing Mateus Filippo either for this game or Adelaide. I'm hoping if he's managed, I'm of the belief that you always play the young guys in any situation. If it's, if there's someone that we're bringing in that isn't like a hell of a lot better than the player we're bringing out, you always play the younger kid. And obviously, there's no one that's... Mateus might have had a couple of quiet games, but I don't believe there's anyone significantly better than him that deserves to come in the team. But anyway, I'm not sure about managing him for Adelaide, because I reckon my gut feeling is that, we're playing at the Adelaide Oval, playing in South Australia. He'll have a big one.
Very good call. He just might have been because of the tough opponents the last few weeks, but he's looked maybe a little bit off the ball. Granted, if he probably takes one or two extra marks, gets a couple more disposals, we're probably thinking of him as one of the better forwards in our team. Just moving on, coming off a big loss to Melbourne, this is from the Kangaroos side. They've got a lot of media attention. It seems like this always happens to us when we play a bottom side team. We're expecting a little bit of a response, but how much do you reckon their response will combat Ross Lyon's response to a loss ourselves?
Not a hell of a lot, to be honest. I'm not expecting a lot from North. I thought their first 10 minutes against Melbourne, was pretty deplorable. And for as long as they keep playing Aaron Hall, I don't want to make him the scapegoat for North Melbourne, because he's not, but I thought he had a pretty horrendous game, and I'm not sure, to be honest, why they keep picking him. If they keep playing Aaron Hall, we should be all right. Do you know if they played Tristan Sherry on the game against Melbourne?
Yeah, Tristan Sherry's injured. He got injured I think right before round one, if I'm not mistaken, but no, I believe Tristan Cherry's injured.
Okay, so there was a question earlier, I'm not sure who it was, asking if we bring in Tom Campbell as a second ruck. I'd say if we had Tristan Sherry, I think yes, match them for height, but it seems Ross Lyon's preference is not, and if they don't have Tristan Sherry, they don't have a good second ruckman, so I'm going to say no to that question. Cooper Sharman, just going back to our potential ins and outs, we got a question from Chris about forgetting about Billings. I don't think that he's in our best 22. That was a bit blunt, but that's my opinion. Max, what are your thoughts on JB?
Look, I think with Taylor Philippou coming into that sort of high half forward role, our forward line looks like it's firing on all functions right now, even though it is makeshift. You think when King comes back, that's a straight in for Cordy. Caminiti probably comes back into the side. I don't know who for as of yet, but he's a great marking threat. And then, Gresham looks like he's had a bounce back couple of weeks. And then Higgins and Butler continue doing Higgins and Butler type things. So I think it's pretty hard for him to break into the forward line if we want to play him on the wing like we have. I believe it was 2020, he played permanent wing. Mason Wood's there. He's killing it. Ronnie Burns is killing it. I don't know. We've just got a lot of players right now that are in form and really hard, especially coming off an injury and having played AFL football in so long, that I don't see how he breaks into this side.
Yep, to be perfectly honest with you, Chris, he's just not in our best 22, like Max and I have said. So, unfortunate for JB, but hopefully he can find some form at Sandy and maybe, put his hand up for team selection. Cooper Sharman must have run over Ross Lyon's cat. I'm convinced, because he is performing pretty good at Sandy, but it seems that, he's always in one of those guys like Jack Bytel or, to come into the team, but he's never really talked about by the media. Why do we think that is? Do you think he's someone that we could bring in against North Melbourne?
Look, I'm not sure. As I said, our forward line looks like it's firing roughly on all cylinders. Buddy Zane Cordy keeps kicking a goal every week. Who would have thought we'd be saying? Who thought we'd be saying Zane Cordy is averaging a goal a game before the season started? But
Yeah. Did you
anyway,
know that before Friday night, St Kilda were undefeated? We were 4-0 when Zane Cordy kicked a goal. So he was the barometer before Friday night. I'm not sure what happened in the universe, but I was really disappointed to see that stat.
yeah,
Stat no longer hold. I really thought we were going to win after he kicked a goal in the first or second quarter. Yeah, but anyway, continue.
yeah, I'm not sure. We've got a lot of medium-sized forwards, and I think that's probably maybe our Achilles heel. We've got just so many similar type players like Caminiti. He's not quite your main forward, but he's not third tall. Tim Membry's definitely not your main tall, but he's probably your second or third option. Machito Owens looks like he's your second or third option. Sharman's your second or third option. When Jack Hayes comes back into the side, he's your second or third option. Like we've got too many of these medium-sized forwards. Look, honestly, as much as I hate to see him go, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get a game and Sharman just says, I want to leave at the end of the season. Because he's definitely an AFL level player. It's much like Jack Lytell, who's been pretty stiff to get into the side. We might, I don't see how he fits in unless we have an injury. Touch wood that we don't. But even down back, right, we've got Wilkie, Howard, and Battle are three prongs. When King comes into the side, you think Cordy's insurance for one of those three. Tom Highmore can mark the ball really well. Sharman maybe might be a step or two over Tom Highmore, but yeah, right now it just seems like we've got too many people in Sharman's position. And I think even Marshy mentioned on the podcast, maybe Sharman's been playing more of a high half forward wing role, but Mason Wood's been killing it this year, so there's been no chance to put him into the side.
Yep. So Sharman is struggling for a position at the moment, but yeah, hopefully, like Billings, he can put his hand up at Sandringham. How good is it that we've got a couple of players that we can legitimately put in our best 22 that are struggling to get a game? It's still, you said this to me 6 months ago. The rounds after the bye that would be having this problem. I would have, asked you for your medicine. So yeah, good that we're having this problem. Injuries to North Melbourne.
Injuries to North Melbourne, yes. So we've touched on Tristan Cherry before. He's out. I've just pulled it up in front of me. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. I believe he got injured before the start of the season with an ankle injury. Just most recently, Charlie Comben had that sickening broken ankle or broken leg against the Demons, so he's out for 10 weeks. And then Callum Coleman-Jones as well. He has got concussion, so he's going to be out for this contest. So that's 3 big key position players that will be missing. That can only benefit us, I believe. Means we can pay special attention to Larkey and potentially Zerha on the forward line, depending on how much he goes forward. Luke Davies-Uniacke is also a big one. He's a test this week. He's got some sort of heel injury or foot injury. Whilst we aren't a super coach or AFL fantasy channel, probably would trade him out this week if you haven't already. He's missed 2 weeks, round 3 and round 6, I believe, whatever the most recent round was, round 7. Trade him out if you have him in your sides. And then the other big news was Jack Zeeble is a test for Sunday night's contest or Sunday Arbo's contest. He's listed as got a foot injury. So as much as everyone might say Zeeble's past his prime, past his ages, he's still an elite kick of the footy, and he's really their general down back. He's helped the likes of Shees will get 30 touches each week. I'm sure when Aaron Hall's body lets him down, Zeeble steps back up to averaging high 20s in disposals. So yeah, he's still an elite kick of the footy. Might not be at the level that he once was, but still very interesting to see if he plays or not coming on Sunday night.
Alrighty, so what do you, based on those injuries, or in consideration of those injuries, the Kangaroos midfield is probably the best element of their game, well, at least the most dangerous / threatening part of their game in comparison to, the rest of the components of their game. Who do you think's, Who do you think is the most dangerous part of their midfield?
So they're contested ball winners, I reckon. LDU, when he comes back, he's a great winner of the contested ball. Jai Simpkin plays on the outside. He's very silky, but Ben Cunnington, very similar to Pau Pepper in how he's just a bulldog. He can be played getting that contested ball. So earlier on in this season, I think round 3 or 4, Alistair Clarkson actually subbed him out at three-quarter time just because he wasn't winning enough contested ball. He said in the post-game match, if he's not winning contested ball for us, he's not doing – there's not a lot of use for him out there. So I think Ben Cunnington's might be a big problem because Goldstein, despite playing 300 games or 301 games, he is still an elite level ruckman. He can still get their midfielders' first use of the footy.
Yep. And also, not just their first use of the footy, but also, I guess, an extension of their midfield, how they exit their back 50. Jack Zeeble, watching the Carlton game, the Carlton v North game on Good Friday, he really impressed me. He was probably one of their better players. But also this young lad named Harry Sheasel, who I used to play junior basketball with back in the day. So clearly I taught him everything he knows about AFL. But yeah, he's an absolute gun. He's had a terrific season. Well done to him. But yeah, their transition off halfback is clearly led by Harry Sheasel and Jack Zeeble. So if we're able to maintain that and limit that, I think we'll be in really good stead for the game on Sunday Arvo. We might just wrap it up. Well, we're getting close to the end here, Sainers. As we always do. Max, one word for how you're feeling for Sunday Arvo, and I believe you've actually prepared a word this time.
I have, thanks to Beth. She commented last week that she wants to send in a feelings wheel. So I'll just put that on the screen now. I did have a word actually prepared. I should have got this up. My word is confident. I don't know if I can find that on the wheel somewhere, but that's the wheel I'm going off of. And yeah, confidence, my word going into this week. North Melbourne should hopefully, we'd beat them by, I don't know, 10 plus goals. Well, yeah, what's that? 10 plus goals would be 60 points. So hopefully we get a big percentage boosting win.
Yep. I think my word might be ambivalent. I'm not sure if my Wi-Fi is holding up at the moment.
Ambivalent.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those games where, there is, it's a lose-lose situation where you have to win by 10 goals. There is, no one is going to start saying St Kilda are flag contenders, St Kilda are locks for the finals after beating a North Melbourne team tipped to finish in the bottom 2. But if we don't do that, and if we win, it's a closer than expected game, or if we, God forbid, lose, which I'm knocking on wood, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but pretty heavily at the moment that we don't. Yeah, just that would be a disaster for us. So I'm looking forward to the game, obviously, as I do every week, no matter the form that we're in. But I'm a bit nervous about the repercussions that could follow if we don't perform up to expectations. But let us know how you're feeling, Sainers. Max, do you want to give a score prediction?
Yep. Sorry, let me just chuck that up for the Sainers while we talk. Comment below, one word, describe how you're feeling for this week. Score prediction from me, I'm hoping we steamroll the Kangas. I reckon Ross lights a fire under everyone's belly, shows everyone that this is a must-win game, not only a win game, but win by a lot. You saw Melbourne have overtaken us for second place on the ladder. They lost, 2 games, 20 points and something else, if I can pull it up in front of me. They lost by 11 points to Brisbane and 27 to Essendon, whereas we've only lost 6 points to Collingwood and 7 points to Port Adelaide. But because they were able to get a 90-point win over Kangaroos, they've jumped us in percentage. And that's the same as Carlton. They beat the West Coast Eagles by, almost 100 points in the end. And they've jumped up to 100+%. They're sitting on 113. So I'd like to see our percentage go hopefully over 155 this week. Score prediction, getting back to that. Saints 130, Kangas 50 points. So I think we kick a big score against them. Yourself, Jordan?
I'm going to go a bit more conservative. I think Ross Lyon is one of those people that doesn't put so much emphasis into percentage, but rather conserving his players for the next week. And certainly we've got a big game next week against Adelaide, who are playing some magnificent footy. Perhaps, the 4:40 game on Sunday showed that their goal kicking could use some work. But other than that, to be in that position against Collingwood, terrific. I think Ross Lyon's one of those guys that value the 4 points more than the percentage. Clearly, I think Collingwood has shown us last season the percentage is overrated. As long as you get the 4 points, you're doing everything right. So I'm going with the conservative margin. I'm going St Kilda 107, defeating North 71. What's that? 36 points? Yeah, 6-goal game. It should be all right. And my player, just to jump the gun, my player to have a big game, Matthias Filippo. I think I said this last week as well, but
Yeah.
my gut again, Matthias, please don't let me down, but I reckon this is one of those games where he can, take advantage of a weaker side and get back into form. Who do you think is going to have a good game?
I believe Mason Wood against his old side, really let them know that they delisted him to have 3 goals and hopefully 28, 30 touches. So I hope Mason Wood has a bag and just does an absolute number on the North Melbourne Footy Club. Just going back to some of the comments about how you're feeling, Saints. Dale, don't know why you're nervous. Maybe because of it's a must win. Chris says beast mode. Beth says focused and serious. I think I saw one before. Guy is positive that we're going to get up and about this weekend. Guys also said Mitch Owens to kick 4. That would be something special if Mitch kicked 4.
I think you've forgotten an extra 0 at the end of 4. I think he's going to kick 40 goals. Fred Fanning, who? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, go on, Max.
No, it's all right. I hope someone gets a bag this week. 5+ goals would be awesome. Dale's also said Owens 20 touches and 5 goals. That would be an electrifying performance. Wilkie to kick 1. Sam says,
sorry.
What are you doing, Jordan? Wilkie to kick 1. That would be really funny if he kicked 1. He had an opportunity the other week against Carlton, was it? He floated forward. But he is not a good set. Wilkie is amazing at many things. Set shot kicking is not one of them, and that's why he plays in defence.
Well, we don't know that because remember the one he had against Richmond, I think last year. We don't know that, Max. I think that's a bit of an unfair analysis to make of big Callum Wilkie. He doesn't get many opportunities, so don't judge a book by its cover.
He had an in-swinging ball that Mitchell Starc would be proud of. That's his set shot.
All right, I think we might wrap it up there, Sainers.
Alrighty. Just a reminder, guys, check out the podcast. That was a live podcast, something different for everyone. That was recorded Sunday night. Also, I interviewed with GT last week. That was real fun to do. And hopefully next week we've lined up a special guest as well. Granted, that's not confirmed, but be on the lookout. Jake has also posted a video every Monday, Saints TV Weekly. So give that a watch as well.
Alrighty, as always, thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night and have a great week.
Go the Saints.